Welcome back to Tansy Academy. We are going to look into columns and rows in lesson 2 of chapter 3. Previous lesson was on database tables. Now let's get the details of columns and rows. Okay. So we have already talked about the columns are vertical and the rows are horizontal within a given grid. Okay. So don't get confused between columns and rows. It's like, when you are in university or in the school, in which row do you used to sit, like whether you used to sit in the first row or the last row. Or columns is like columns for a building. Columns are always vertical on which you rest the roof of the building. Okay. Columns and rows. In rows, the elements are arranged from left to right, whereas in columns the elements are arranged from top to bottom. Okay. So here these are the rows. You start inserting data from here and you go this way to cover all the columns. Or if you're talking about a column, you will be looking at data this way. This is the value for the employee table. Employee ID is 1 2 3 4. This is how you go. Okay. So these are the columns. Here we have column 1 2 3 4 5. We have 12 columns on this table. This is the employee table, and we have 10 rows in this table. Okay, and this table is meant to store the employee information. So what is a database column? Columns store data like a folder for each type of information. Part of table, we have already looked at. Columns are one of the building blocks of database table. Hold similar data. If you have noticed here, this email column, I am going to store only email. Even if your poor database design allows to store like a salary, it doesn't make any sense. So a column is meant to store similar information. Here I am storing only last name. Here I am storing only a city. Here I am storing the department reference. Hold similar data. Okay, all data in column is of the same type. Okay, vertical alignment. Columns run vertically from top to bottom. Example, in a student table, column might be last name. So what are the characteristics of a database column? The first thing is data types. Okay, column can store numbers, words, or dates. Here in a customer ID column, I'm storing numbers. In the name column, I'm storing strings. In the account type, I'm storing strings, and in amount, I'm storing the money, or I would say numeric values. Here I'm storing the strings, and here I'm storing the date. Okay, so the column can store any data type. Okay, you have to define what data type are you going to store when you create a table. Fixed structure. Once set, the type of data and column holds doesn't change. Once you define the table, this doesn't change unless you run an alter command, and change the data type. But assume that this is going to be fixed. Constants. You can apply constants. Let's say that you can say that only numbers can be inserted here. If you try to insert savings here, it will reject your data. So you can apply such constants. Unique versus non-unique. Here let's say that we have deposit repeated 2 times. So this is meaningful data. Okay, and date, it can be repeated. But here if you look at the customer ID, this is not repeated. So this is something called unique, so that 502 503 points to the row, this particular row and this particular set of information. So this is called a unique column which cannot be repeated. So you have to define when you create a table to say what is my unique column, whether I have a unique column or not, and I have a column named date. I am going to store only dates. So you can define such things on the columns. How do you use column? Okay, there are 3 ways you can use column. You can sort by column, or you can filter by column, or you can join column. Here I am trying to sort the data based upon population. If you see, it's from like 85, the least populated country is on the top and the most populated country at the bottom. So I have ordered this data based upon the population. It's increasing downwards. Okay, so in the next one you can filter. Here I have 5 rows, right? See, this is a sample data. It's not like this is a complete set of data, and I want to filter where GDP is greater than 15,000. So that means I'm filtering on this column. Here I was sorting by the column. Okay, right? So once I apply that filter, I get only 2 rows because there are only 2 countries where their GDP is greater than 15,000. Okay, right? It's not 50,000, it's like a different number here. Okay, and then third one, if you have two tables, you can join the tables depending on the column. Let's say you have product type table, and then you say product type id 1. What it refers to, it refers to all drinks. And here you have product table itself. This product id is 1, is the I say Pepsi, Sneakers, and then you have product type id. You are not saying here drinks or snacks, you are referring to other table. Here 2 refers to Cheetos is a snack, Pepsi is a drink, Sneakers is a snack. So instead of you writing it here again, you will be referring back. You will be we'll be learning about this in chapter 5. This is called foreign key columns. Okay, so you can actually join the data. You can bring product type, product, okay, and product id. See, this product type is coming from other column here, so you can join and create a virtual table here depending on the columns. Okay, so see, if you don't understand this concept, that's fine. This is called primary key, foreign key. It's about inner joins. So we will have a detailed explanation on this in chapter 7. Okay, I will also touch base on chapter 5, even chapter 6. And then types of database columns. You can have a column as a primary key or a foreign key, or data columns, regular data columns, or index columns, or optional versus mandatory. We can have a look at a few of them. Here, as these columns hold unique values, these are called as a primary key columns. I cannot have another row with value 2 here, because you are defining this to be unique, so that is called a primary key column. Okay, and then here this column is used to refer back to some other table, so these types of columns are called foreign key columns. And then here I have the description for the first row, but for the second row I left it blank. So these types of column are called optional. You can enter if you have the information, or you can leave it blank. But if you look at product type and product, I have populated data for all the rows. That means it's mandatory. You need to have data value for this before you insert or add a row to this table. Okay, and then what is a database row? Okay, row stores individual records. Each row represents a single record. Rows are the horizontal counterpart to columns in a table. Contain diverse data. Each row combines information across different columns, and they are aligned horizontally. Okay, here what are the characteristics of a row? Unique records. So this one 3 is a unique here. So what does 3 tell me? That is information for Zach, who lives in Allentown and who is 6th grade. Okay, each row typically holds unique information even if some overlaps. So here I am going to say that, okay, Adrian is from 9th grade. Again, Paul is from 10th grade. There can be another student, Andrew, from the 10th grade. Okay, mutable in the sense rows can be added. We have already seen in the life cycle of a table, you can add rows, or you can update a value, or you can delete a row. Okay, and then it doesn't affect your table structure when you are actually modifying the data. Ordering. Rows can be sorted and ordered in various ways through queries. Consistency. Rows must other to the format defined by the table columns. When you add a new row, it should other to the definition of the columns here. Okay, what type of data you can store is grade allows only numbers, city you can have a string, student id must be unique. So all those rules from the columns need to be looked at when you try to add a new row. Characteristics of a database row. Here I am trying to order this data by order id. Same thing like what we looked in column characteristics. Here I am trying to order by name, right? So it goes by alphabetical order. And then here I am trying to order by grade. Okay, so this is how you can order rows in a table. And that's it for now. Let's look into other lessons.